to the LEC and Game 2 of Schalke 04 versus the MAD Lions as we see countless poor stuffed animals just run over like a weird furry game of GTA. I don't know what to say about that one. Anyway, Game 1 almost feels like it left us with more questions than answers.
Much like that introduction.
Much like that introduction.
Listen, it was so easy. We're just like the stuffed animals run over like MAD Lions were in that Game 1, which leads me to my proper segue, draft adjustments. Ender, forget him. What are we seeing in draft number 2?
Look, I want to see MAD Lions go a very different direction to Game 1. In Game 1, they went for some heavy early game out of the jungle for Shadow, but after seeing that performance, I need to see MAD Lions change it up. Take scaling in the jungle and take that first pick Kalista, play for your bottom lane. That's where your power lies.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that we need to put much higher priority in making sure that they get a bot lane that they can play through and getting Shadow on a comfort champion. We had a lot of questions because if he didn't get the Lee Sin, he went for the Volibear. Volibear is dead now. He has been nerfed out. We saw him reach for the set, looked a little bit shaky, so maybe they go back to the Lily as his fallback.
And what the question is, how do the bans shift first? That's going to tell us a lot about what's going to happen here in the game. Will MAD Lions take the Ashe away to set up the Kalista for a first pick? Caitlyn, of course, still remains permanent, or it will be expected to, and there it is.
Now, reminder, MAD Lions' previous bans were Senna, Hecarim, and Shin. Schalke were Caitlyn, Thresh, and Lux. So far, nothing has changed. Now, holding the Senna ban, I also think that there's a chance that you get a priority pick of the Senna.
Yeah, and it feels like, Neon wouldn't be the type of guy to go towards that Kalista, so it doesn't feel like MAD Lions are pressured to ban something like that out. By banning the Tahm Kench now, it will open up that Senna first pick. So, will Schalke give them the Senna, which we've seen be so strong throughout playoffs, or threaten that opportunity to run the Sona Lux?
And the thing that I love about the Tahm Kench lane is that it instantly weakens both the Ashe as well as the Senna priority because it limits the defensive options that you can pair with them and certainly makes sure that they will not have another situation like last game where they could never burst down a priority target.
Also, Dreams is just a god tier Tahm Kench player, but we're doing it again. I can almost feel the groans from Caedrel and Vedius backstage.
Wait, no.
But they'll literally just send a Nautilus. Like, it's right there for them. They don't care about the Tahm Kench. Dreams looks better on Nautilus. He played 8 games of it in the regular season.
And while I agree with you, Dreams certainly cannot save the Senna as easily when there's no Tahm Kench on the table. So it is going to be the Senna. It will probably also be the Nautilus, Ender. I'd be very surprised. Instead, it'll be the Orianna. They say that you could take the Nautilus if you want.
And look, I think this Orianna is a phenomenal pick. It's the same matchup as the first game, but usually you think of Orianna as a safe defensive pick. Her E gives her resistances, armor and MR. Usually that's great versus a mage in the mid lane. You only need the MR part, but against the Akali, she does mixed damage with a Gunblade. She's doing physical and magic, so Orianna gets double value out of that spell, and it makes it so hard for Akali to play aggressive in that matchup.
So still not going for the Kalista, instead opting into the Ashe. Now, Ashe Senna have some really interesting lane matchups. We'll talk about it more into the game. The big important thing is the fact that Nautilus has been denied from Dreams. So his 2 best champions, his Tahm Kench and his Nautilus, have been taken away, and he usually does fall back to the Yuumi that was flashed. I don't think we're going to see Yuumi Senna, and the Braum gets locked in.
This is really interesting, though, from Schalke, because by not taking the Nautilus, the more playmaky of the supports, if you will, they're playing into a very similar style as Game 1, where they're playing back in the team fights. With the Tahm Kench, you're playing a very defensive duty. The Braum going to be very similar, and it's very hard for an Akali to get a lot done. As soon as the Frostbite gets applied, you're getting ready to look for the stun. Akali has to dip out of those fights or else risk being CC'd to death. So this makes it, again, a hard game for Humanoid to get things done in the 5v5.
And already having to deal with concussive blows, it looks like they do not want to deal with the Sejuani stacks as well. Makes playing an assassin just a little bit too hard. Graves going to be banned as well. Now the GP to follow. GP, of course, very safe blind picks and very solid matchups into the meta top laners.
So the bans haven't changed for Schalke on second priority. Graves and Gangplank are exactly what they did in the first game. The bans have changed for MAD Lions. Obviously denying Gilius his Sejuani, which means either or the Camille and Lilia will get through. Excuse me, the
Camille.
Camille.
I'm a fan of that one. And MAD Lions, too, taking away that Renekton, which was the safe blind pick option for Odoamne topside. Now, for Schalke, I wonder if they would almost consider going for the Kha'Zix. It's a pick we teased a little bit in the last game. But right now, again, the staple of Schalke comps is the zone control, the range of the Senna, the Orianna ball. All of these different options give you the ability to control space. And I think a Kha'Zix plays wonderfully off that with his spike evolve as well.
And it feels like they are searching for possibly the Kha'Zix. They're trying to see if it's the best option to go in. If you get a bunch of tanks locked in here, obviously he'll probably disengage from that. I would have preferred the Scion, actually, but we hear from a lot of top laners that Camille is just so powerful right now, and it also helps with something that the Schalke composition is lacking right now since they don't have Sejuani, which is that engage.
We'll keep our eyes on the Camille, see exactly how Mad Lions want to respond this one. Orome, of course, no stranger to the champion, was able to have some pretty solid performances against Wonder on it in his series last week. But now the Mordekaiser will be the answer. Is a fantastic champion into the Braum, instantly takes away the Unbreakable, stops anyone from applying concussive blows. So some very theoretically strong interactions from the side of Mad Lions, but the final pick, I think, has to be the fan favorite here, as it is Shadow's Lee Sin.
All right, before the draft started, I said I wanted to see Shadow go to the scaling options. The Lee Sin, though, I'll give him a pass because this champion, he makes work. He looked completely out of sorts on the set, but the Lee Sin was the signature pick of the Mad Lions this summer split. So Shadow, again, with pressure to make plays in the early game, now he has some good tools to work with again on this Lee Sin.
And that's the Skarner. If you guys don't watch Global League of Legends, Skarner is popping up everywhere. It is no surprise to see him make his reappearance in this Best of 5. I expect to see him continue to show up throughout the playoffs, definitely at Worlds, so get used to watching the purple worm wiggle.
And get used to paying the QSS tax, too, if you are the Mad Lions. This is going to be a rough one, too, for Humanoid, who wants to make plays. The Lee Sin, too, low-range champions that need to get on top of you to get stuff done. Also, very squishy, so that CC is going to be deadly.
Now, I want to quickly put the magnifying glass on Mordekaiser here because he is against a tank jungler, which means that if he ults the Skarner, he'll get all those resistances and can come out super tanky right there, as well as try to limit one of the disrupting factors in a 5v5 team fight. I think the Mord pick can be really important here.
Have to keep our eyes on it as we get ready for Game 2. Mad Lions versus Schalke. Who will come out on top? Here we are moving quickly into Game 2. Adaptations coming through in draft, but not necessarily the ones we expected. The Akali remaining the priority for Mad Lions, but maybe this time it will pay off. Keeping our eyes as well on the bottom side of the map. Ashe plus the Nautilus. Tons of playmaking here for the Mad Lions bot side, where Schalke on the opposite side may have to play a little bit of the back foot.
I mean, you see Senna and Braum, and it's just so difficult to break those two champions, to force them out of the lane. The nice thing about an Ashe is because of how her builds work, the fact that she can make repeated backs, constantly be grabbing long swords because she is itemizing into Blade of the Rune King, means that she plays really aggressive into the lane. But it's kind of this give and take about how much damage actually gets to stick, because obviously Senna will just kind of heal it all back, and that's kind of where I'm curious how it's going to break. Will these lanes just neutralize each other and Ashe and Senna just sit in lane phase for so long? Or will Ashe be able to bully out Senna, get better back itemization because of how she can build, and take advantage of this early game?
Yeah, and you know, on that first back, if she can get a Vamp Scepter, that's going to negate a lot of the healing coming through from a Senna. Now, one thing that we didn't get to see Mad realize in the first game that I want to see now with this Nautilus is Kaiser early roaming. You talked about with Ashe, with her volley, it's really easy to control the wave in the early stage of the game. And what I would love to see is Carzzy go for one of those cheater recalls we're always talking about, where on the third wave, you stack up the second and third wave with the cannon to go back to base. And what that's going to do is open up Kaiser to look for a roam to mid lane. Again, they're playing aggro in this 2v2, but I want to see Kaiser and Shadow look to attack that mid lane, which was such a focal point for Mad Lions in game 1.
Also the fact that Lee Sin starting top side of the map, so he should be able to have his red buff when Kaiser does get unlocked there, if they want to try to sync it up with the jungler and the support being unlocked with the priority that Ashe and Nautilus are creating in the lane.
Yeah, I do want to point out, though, that early on, Schalke were looking for the level 2 gank, or warding against level 2 gank. You just saw ward right to the north of mid lane die out from Schalke. There was also one right underneath it to spot Shadow going straight from his red buff towards mid. Now Abbedagge has a ward himself, too. He's going to ward that top side. He'll still be a little bit vulnerable from the bot, but you'll see he'll hug the top side of his lane to play towards the vision, and that should negate pretty much any gank opportunity if he stays in that pocket.
Of course, we cannot forget how crucial some of these early ganks were in mid lane in the previous game. It feels easy to forget given how long, how intense that game was. But remember, the initial gank looked so good for Shadow. The follow-ups got progressively worse. If one of these ganks is successful, if the Akali gets ahead of the clock, gets a Gunblade early, this becomes a very different game. And Mad certainly have all the tools to get her ahead.
Actually, Shadow has just gone for the full clear. Most people do think about Lee Sin as just kind of like the hard ganking champion. but you could actually just go for all full clears and just rush to level 6 because the level 6 is so powerful. As I start to set that up as a possible option for him, you do see him slipping into the river to look for crab. And now he's kind of debating, okay, we have priority, I can grab the Scuttle Crab, or do I want to try to get involved bot lane? Obviously, Schalke with the ward.
Yeah, the thing is with most junglers, you're able to clear 5 camps before the Scuttle Crab spawns, so pretty standard to go for the crab and then pivot into either a gank or your camps, but they're still going.
Step on the hook, but the Ignite comes down. Neon just going to flash out of that one. Dream's locked up. No level 3 means no stand behind me. He cannot leave back. He's going to be forced to flash out. Shadow potentially on his way to a double kill. Has to be careful with both blows.
No.
Clean sidestep from Neon means that will not land. Shadow burning so much for that.
And the fact is that Gilius saw him on the ward, so he did the Krug camp. Gilius now has Shadow try to hard force, losing his flash with a brilliant sidestep from Neon. Just huge credit to this guy. He has been so clean for so long. We don't necessarily always get to sing his praises, but just a small sidestep like that burns so much from Shadow.
Yeah, it definitely causes Shadow, you know, now he doesn't have the flash, makes the next gank that much more difficult. Orome takes a big trade up against Odoamne. It is worth pointing out, though, that Neon loses so much off of that bot lane play. He might as well have died because now he's down, he's doubled in CS as Gilius looks for Orome.
Shadow's on his way.
Waddling his way through, getting the Nimbus cloak to flash away. Gilius going to continue to flash in, though. Very risky. He just desperately wants to finish it, but no! First blood for Shadow. Big misstep for Schalke.
And there's the force. Now, Gilius has been forcing in both games so far. Wasn't punished for it as hard in game number 1. Is really punished for it in game number 2. Wow, good guy Shadow. He knows that Orome has a TP. Doesn't take the CS there.
I would say stick around for 3 more minions.
I agree.
Jungle, but sure. I mean, I feel terrible for both these junglers. Literally between 2 towers, and they can't make those kills connect. Really rough stuff for Gilius, but I think Shadow recovers a little bit after burning his flash initially. I will say that there's a lot of craziness going on, but the big thing is not really about the kills that did not go through, but how the CS is now going to be mismatched between the top and bot lanes.
25 to 34 is going to be massive. 34 to 26 in the bot lane in favor of MAD. Odoamne should be feeling pretty comfortable as well because that lead is only going to get bigger. He now gets to catch this entire wave as the lane will not quite reset, but should be pretty close to even if he's just going to full clear this one out and feeling quite comfortable as well. As you can see the Cole coming through. So Odoamne, once he gets 1 or 2 items under his belt, is going to be very scary, and he's well on his way to getting there.
And I feel like at this point, they kind of missed the window to really punish Camille into the lane phase. You should try to get her down low and then look for the all-in engagement after that. But now she'll be able to really choose if she wants to fight you or not. Even if you do have the advantage, she could just like dash away from you sitting on the Cole. It should be a pretty easy lane phase. And I think Odo's kind of out of the red here.
Yeah, one play that is pretty successful though with the Mordekaiser, even against Camille, is you just drop that ultimate down as like this giant snare because you can only
wait for other people to run
and then Abbedagge, or Humanoid rather, runs all the way up towards the top lane, waits on top of the little ball that spawns, and then you look for the kill. So there is stuff to play with.
Here goes Kaiser.
Concussive blows have not been procced, however, so Kaiser's going to be able to walk away from this one. Gilius in the area, just shadowing, just hovering as Shadow himself, maybe fishing for a play, trying to catch an even man fight. Lee Sin obviously very strong at this point. Double longswords to the chilling smite of Gilius. Should have more raw combat stats. Now fishing for the play. The TP now coming in. A lot of attention down to the bottom side. Dream's going to be sacrificed here. Neon sent under the tower. Humanoid level 6. But will not commit for the play.
Ooh, Humanoid not getting anything for that is definitely going to feel bad for him. As soon as that wave gets pushed into the mid lane, he's going to lose out a lot. But still, MAD Lions play proactively, set up that gank, and punish Dreams, and they should be able to convert into an objective.
Yeah, I think that's why Humanoid immediately ate up Carzzy's entire wave, is now setting up for the potential dive. Dreams is walking down. He'll be here in about 15 seconds. So MAD, yeah, I think they want to rethink this one.
Yeah, but they're all over the place, right? You know, Kaiser's hex flashing over the wall, Shadow was running towards the dragon, Humanoid was looping back around. Like, they could have looked for a dive right there, but again, not exactly. They're not all on the same page calling we're going for this dive. There was a bit of split decision making.
Now we keep our eyes on the mid lane as well. Abbedagge, as you said, pulling ahead in CS. Orome Odoamne. I'm just going to keep mixing that up. Odoamne continue to just pull further and further ahead. You can see very comfortable in this lane matchup. So difficult for Orome to bully him out. The Conqueror, it's going to feel real good in those extended fights, but Camille just weaves in, weaves out, gets that grass proc. And Orome just really not getting the chance to extend the trades. That said, we're keeping an eye on the junglers as well. Level 6 now for Shadow means the potential to make plays is massive. Gilius trailing just a little bit behind. Once he grabs that, it should be a pretty easy point-and-click setup just about anywhere he wants.
And supports, too. We see the bot lane from MAD Lions reset. Now Kaiser looking for that rotation towards mid. Shadow did finish his Warrior Enchantment as well, which is a huge spike on that Lee Sin. You already saw he had a pretty big gold advantage over Gilius. So this is the opportunity for MAD to play for the Herald. Now, because Carzzy is going down towards the bottom lane, I mean, I think Shadow could actually just start this one up by himself, but Schalke could show up and push them off.
I think the important thing is the fact that Odo's playing with teleport and Orome and Humanoid don't have it. So instead of trying to contest the Drake, they know that they can get tempo and numbers advantage by pulling the lane swap. So they swap Neon on Dreams. They now have the teleport on Odo. And if they want to try to force this fight, they'll have numbers advantage and be able to swing from there.
It's also important to note that Carzzy has to be quite careful in this matchup. Odoamne level 7 to his level 5. Carzzy tipping over to level 6 would make things easier, but because he's such a low level and cannot lane on his own, Kaiser's being pulled down to the bottom lane. Now this could turn against Odoamne if he overstays his welcome, but for now it's 2 members committed to the bottom side just to deal with Odoamne. Ulti now coming out, the damage now coming through, but a clean flash out from Shadow. He can't kick over the wall to try to make it out, but the concussive blows are going to lock him down. But no, still alive for now, smiting to heal up in Shadow. The great escape, can he do it? Pulling away as Humanoid tries to find it. Shadow somehow makes it out.
I mean, yes, it's the great escape, and I guess maybe he dissuades Schalke from starting that, but if he dies there, that's a massive disadvantage for MAD Lions. He kind of revealed where he was. I was just about to compliment Schalke on the swap as well, knowing that Shadow would probably be topside jungle because it's for the blue spawn, but that could have gone so sideways for Shadow.
Yeah, I mean, you can call Shadow Houdini, but he's the one that tied himself up right there. That was completely his fault, playing around the Herald, going in without a team in the area. So Schalke will still be able to pick this up. I think Shadow's correct play now is to go and trade for the Mountain Drake on the bottom side of the map.
See, that's the question. We expect that MAD Lions in this position wouldn't just try to contest the Herald. They would say like, okay, Schalke, you have TP advantage. I'll go bottom and either continue to punish Odoamne on this Camille, which MAD Lions are now starting to do, as well as trade Mountain, but they're slightly behind the play.
The thing is, Orome can dodge any dive by pulling it into a 1v1 underneath the tower, so it's actually pretty good for MAD Lions to stay with these split lanes because Orome can freely farm under the tower, whereas Odoamne has to step all the way back, not be able to contest the plates at all, and lose a whole wave.
And one of the concerns that Schalke are now going to have to deal with, as the TP is used into the top lane trying to reset the lanes, is that Ashe is dangerously close to Blade of the Rune King, whereas Neon, much slower build path. Yes, can complete items earlier, but should be much weaker relatively in one-to-one trades. And with all of the tower plates going into Carzzy's back pocket, he is well ahead of the clock on this Ashe. As now we see the Death Realm coming out. Odoamne potentially in trouble, running to the edge here, trying to get a little bit of healing back. Grasping the Undying proc, waiting on it. Now going to use the ult to dodge, and will jump out there. Gets the stun on the escape as well. Shield now coming in from the center. Orome desperate to finish it, but the Obliterate will not connect.
Look at the teleport.
Oh, here we go.
No flash on Mordekaiser.
Abbedagge, though, definitely not the immediate threat that I thought we would be seeing. Now the
This is
Shockwave
it,
is
Shockwave.
going to be big. Hookshot, wall dive, the flash in, the pullback, not enough, and Schalke will grab the kill.
That was just so nicely played there from Schalke's side of things. Odoamne on the jukes to escape using his ultimate to dodge probably the killing blow with that Q coming through from Orome, and then the flank TP from Abba. Big plays from them.
And meanwhile on the map, I need to hold it because Shadow, here he comes.
Level 7 Lee Sin versus the level 9 Ori with no mana. Red buff procking, 1 auto, 2 autos, trying to finish it. Conqueror now coming through. He wants one more, but he's not quite fast enough. Top lane looks like nothing's going to happen here. Shadow making it out as well, but here, oh no, here comes
Snipe.
the arrow. Walking through. Dreams, what can't he do?
What a support! An absolute legend here.
A national
There it
treasure.
Abbedagge is going to make it out. Humanoid, though, potentially in trouble in the mid lane as Gilius waddles very menacingly towards him. All right.
Okay. Oh, we're never gonna get stalked.
Hold on.
No.
They're just laning. They're just laning. Okay, 2K gold lead for MAD Lions. 2 kills to 1. They've got a tower now. They've got the Mountain Drake. This is looking like a much better early game. But what does it really mean?
Well, it means that MAD Lions are in a better pace because this composition does need to explode the game a little bit. This is a mid-game team fighting team where you have a lot of players with individual agency to take 1v1 fights. You have, you know, the Mordekaiser ultimate to split up these fights and get really aggressive with things. You can force with the Ashe arrow. So MAD Lions need to take this advantage, go into the next Drake, look for a fight, collapse on side lanes, and attack through Orome, or attack towards the lanes of Humanoid and Orome.
Now, I had questions about where the Herald was going to go down. You can see that Gilius is now shadowing under Neon and Dreams. Obviously, unlocked the first game. Neon didn't get the Herald in the second game. It is sitting in the jungler's pocket. And I actually expected him to use it top with Camille and give her plates. But I think with all of the shenanigans, they've now decided to pivot on the plan. And Schalke are just trying to hard force find anything to set the Herald down. Things have gone a little bit sideways to how we thought the next 5 minutes were going to go.
All right, so as we take a breather, let's talk about Skarner waddling around the map. Because as you can see,
I like to call it a wiggle.
It's a little bit of a wiggle, you know, shaking the tail. But he's not rocking the Predator that we so often see on the Skarner. And this looks really odd to a lot of people, I feel like, because it's so much harder to force plays with the Skarner. It makes his gank presence way less felt. We're gonna watch that Shadow.
Because here comes the arrow, will not connect, but Shadow now jumping in. It looks like the entire team will pull away though as the arrow does not connect.
I need a replay. I'm pretty sure that just split Dreams and Neon right in the forehead.
Like the arrow went through them?
Well, that's what it looked like.
It looks like it was a mile away to me.
Oh, I saw Dreams like shift. I need the replay. I blinked and missed it.
Oh.
In my perspective, that was about to be a solo kill. In Neon's perspective, he was just fine. Gilius, though, now being contested on the buff here, going to get kicked right back. That's the Wombo combo fans have been waiting for. The duo coming through for jungle mid. Gilius now running for the hills, blocking away for Dreams. But Humanoid going to grab that one. Gilius cannot waddle fast enough. Humanoid more than happy to grab that kill.
Yeah, it's a really nice punish there inside the jungle for MAD Lions. Also gives them so much pressure top lane to break down the turret plates on that one. And trade for some that was picked up in the mid lane for Schalke. I will say, very quickly, it's phase rush for Gilius on the Skarner, which of course gives him much better ultimates because now he can get that boost. Come on, Humanoid!
Pulled back. Ooh, shoots him with the gunblade. Now should be able to walk away from this one. Depends though. Blue buff there for Abbedagge, slowly but surely running him down. No, Humanoid, there's no way out of this one. The flash out to safety. Abbedagge just gonna Q him and walk away.
That was ambitious.
Shadow, no ultimate.
Here we go. 1v1s, constant 1v1s. It's not League of Legends, it's Mortal Kombat. Every time we get the chance, Shadow will, though, walk away.
This has been a wild game.
Yeah. And important to take stock, because last game, while there were a lot of wild plays early, it did feel like it slowed down a little bit, whereas in this game, it feels like a lot more wild plays, and those wild plays are just going more and more in the favor of MAD. Schalke getting a tower back, and a mid lane tower nonetheless, that's a big deal.
Oh, here's the arrow.
Okay.
But it's still a 3K deficit.
How far away was it?
Whee.
I don't know what you were watching.
I blinked, like I said, I got my glasses on. You're right, it was a mile away.
It hit his own bot lane, I guess.
Zoning arrow.
Here we go.
Odoamne taking a bit of time here. Can obviously use his ultimate to go untargetable for a brief moment, and will use it now. Senna ult now coming in, but Odoamne is just going to get absolutely dunked down. Will not be able to grab anything there, and Humanoid now going to grab his 3rd kill of the game.
I think an issue that Schalke are having as MAD Lions are basically just beating them to the punch on a lot of these skirmishes is that it's really hard for Senna to contest with Ashe's wave clear. And so because Carzzy is able to force waves so much faster, he's getting faster resets than Neon is. And that means that Ashe is joining up to the plays more. I think he's doing a great job of throwing his arrow in Fog of War, even if it doesn't connect, just forcing that invisible pressure. So far, a much better early game performance for MAD Lions as they basically ran back the same strategy, save the Jhin for Ashe trade.
And in terms of confidence in a best-of-5 scenario, losing game 1 on a first pick Akali when no one else is first picking Akali looked really bad. Running it back in game 2 for many fans probably looked even worse, but now that he's turned it around, you're seeing why they prioritize this champion. Now that Odoamne is getting run down, you're seeing why maybe they like the Mordekaiser matchup, but now as I say that, Gilius is waddling menacingly in the jungle. MAD Lions now on the retreat.
Okay, he definitely missed that arrow.
This is the collapse, though. This is going to be a 5v4 or 5v3 in theory.
Gilius has to be careful here. Orome level 11 is very big. Carzzy isolated. The knockup is going to come through. One stack, going to find 2, 3, and 4. Look at that. Carzzy will be sacrificed here. But
no, turn on him.
Orome. No. Odoamne is going to grab that one. A bit too close for comfort. The pullback under the tower, though. The obliterate. The delayed CC. The flash out will not cancel Kaiser's recall, but definitely a little cute there.
Still, while Schalke do manage to pick up some of the kills, and I think more importantly, actually get the flash and heal off of Carzzy, which will not be back up for that Infernal Drake, and it is 3rd one, so I think that's kind of the long-term most important plan. Humanoid, 3-in-1, has the big items for Akali, still getting a lot of this solo EXP and solo time over there, as well as Shadow in the mid lane. So if Schalke for this Infernal fight can punish on Ashe not having this flash, I think then this is worth it. Otherwise, I think they're actually just wasting a lot of time here, throwing multiple resources and not getting anything on the map.
Yeah, the arrow not connecting is a really big deal. That's, you know, a second or two of extra CC time that's very likely to kill on Odo. And then notice, your Akali's in top lane, your Lee Sin's in mid lane, so it really is just 3 people, knowing that Schalke were in the area. Now we're going to talk about Gilius finally. He has phase rush on Skarner, and look how fast he's going to yank Carzzy out of, like, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's about getting people a really far distance in these team fights and not playing proactively. So again, Schalke are trying to absorb the engage of MAD Lions. MAD Lions are trying to fight at all costs.
And the gold lead no longer 3K. Of course, there are still 2 dragons. It is still 2 towers to 1, but only about 2,000 now between each of these teams. As Abbedagge seems very comfortable in his individual 1v1. Additionally, Odoamne continuing to scale up. Now has their Trinity Force completed. Should feel much more comfortable in a side lane. But against a 3-1 Akali, I don't think anyone is really comfortable in a 1v1 setting.
The dive is potentially coming out here as we're watching the map movements. As you can see that Odoamne and Dreams finding their way down here. And MAD Lions don't have anyone near Orome. Kaiser's trying to get down here.
No flash on Dreams, no ult either. The concussive blows are going to have to get things started. Kaiser's in the area as well. Orome, if he fishes for this one, though, is going to step forward. Dreams leaping over the wall. Now it's Odoamne Dreams versus Abbedagge. So Abbedagge and Orome are now in the death realm, but the sidestep is going to be massive there. Now they're going to come out on top of that one. Abbedagge wins the 1v1. Shadow, though, with a kick flash to make his way out. But because he dies in the animation, will not kick back into the rest of the team. Shadow now going to be in trouble. Odoamne knocked out. The Trinity Force not enough. Too little, too late. Double kill coming through for Shadow. Make it 3. No, this time Carzzy's going to snag one of his own. Neon moving in onto the backside. Has the heals, and Gilius might be fast. He might be pulling Carzzy into him, but it doesn't look like it's going to be the right choice. They will let Schalke walk away, but MAD Lions just continuing to win out.
It's just not the same power when Senna shows up, so they immediately throw that one away. That is why you get Shadow, Lee Sin, Kaiser now flashing over the wall and catching Gilius again. Here comes Shadow on the flank.
Gonna be big. Neon gonna try to do something, but he's just too weak. He's just a glorified support right now. The heals are going to be important. The flash out to safety. Shadow will not overcommit here. Does not have a ward to hop to because he has the Herald, so that stops any further playmaking.
And this whole time, Humanoid was pushing in the top lane by himself. That was a 4v5 effectively. And the amount of time Orome buys with this ultimate for the rest of his team to come down here. Kaiser, Shadow, then Carzzy at the end. It's huge. Shadow also lands every Q, it seems, here on Abbedagge. His flash is a little bit extra. He was going to one-shot him anyways, but he does follow up on Odoamne.
I agree with you. I think it's the miscalculation of how long it would take to kill Orome, and then also the outplay of Shadow's mechanics on the Lee Sin that really paid off here for MAD Lions. And the huge benefactor, like you were saying, is Humanoid at the end of the day.
And also, I mean, Schalke are just going to be missing and wanting for damage when Abbedagge has to use his ultimate in the forced 1v1, when Neon isn't able to enter the fight, and when Odo is running for most of it. This is a comp that needs some more time before they can come online.
And the salt in the wound on top of that is its third Drake that spawns in 30 seconds, and now picking up all of that kill gold, trading those really important flashes. Now the fact that Carzzy doesn't have flash doesn't mean as much because Gilius and Odo also do not have flash. They can't punish the Ashe that hard. This is a huge win for MAD Lions.
And now they drop Herald in mid lane. They can nuke that tower while also pushing Vision in further. As Shadow's on the flank looking for the collapse. I don't think Schalke can contest this Infernal Drake. They're going to have to give up the third, which puts so much pressure on them for the rest of the game. Even if they were to pull it back through team fights and make it close, there is always the risk of a Lee Sin Smite steal because his combo with Q plus Smite is always going to deal more damage than Gilius will inside the pit.
And the adjustments, again, I think we have to praise MAD for seeing what they need to do in the draft because the Tahm Kench appears to have been the biggest factor, the Ashe as well, because Neon, who was an absolute monster in the previous game, has once again been relegated to what feels like a glorified support, just pushing waves, just catching at this point. He does not do enough in these fights to match MAD Lions.
The individual performance also, Shadow in particular, I think is a big standout. So yes, I agree with you, taking away a Tahm Kench to allow MAD Lions to have agency and to flex a little bit on their opponents is a big factor, but you also have to say that Schalke are making some head-scratching maneuvers. That really clean macro that we saw in game number 1 has started to show some cracks in game number 2.
Yeah, and we have seen this from Schalke in the past. I mean, even when they played against MAD Lions in the first, or in week 8, rather. Like, they have these scaling compositions, but they still like to fight you. They still try to make plays, and they're going to try to do that again here with Humanoid in the top lane.
Pull back, the Shuriken flip will ferry him out to safety. Now gets to buy a bit more time, moving forward into the TP. Some fancy footwork coming for Humanoid. Just going to stick in this shot as long as possible. Gilius is going to pull him back, but now Orome's in the midst of everyone, but it's still just a 2v4. Maybe not what they're looking for, but Humanoid still manages to make it out. He goes golden, he cancels out the ultimate. Kaiser going to step forward to try to body block. Humanoid is still alive. Now that's a Houdini you can be proud of. Shadow moving in with Kaiser as well on the backside. Meanwhile, Orome fishing for a fight, buying just a little bit more time. Neon not doing the damage necessary to get anything done. Abbedagge running for the hills, the double kill for Shadow. And meanwhile, here comes the Ashe on the bottom side. Carzzy looking to play cleanup. One volley, one slow. That's all it's going to take to run down the rest of Schalke as Carzzy runs forward here, and Odoamne, the last man standing.
That was a 4v5. Carzzy only got involved on the very back half of it. The Ashe arrow did not connect. That was a huge play for MAD Lions.
When the fights get messy, get scrappy, get nasty, MAD Lions will come out on top. Their champions thrive in these situations. The chaotic nature of this draft is helping them out. The individual playmakers are stepping up, and Schalke are looking all out of sorts.
And the turnaround from game 1 to game 2 is fantastic for the MAD Lions. Always a question with younger lineups. We've seen MAD Lions keep it together in losing situations before. They went the full 5 versus G2, but could they do it again here against Schalke, against the Miracle Run memes, against the fans' expectations? Well, they're holding on for now. They're proving good on this Akali first pick, and it's looking like Mad Lions are set to take this game too.
Now, I know everyone's going to be focusing on Humanoid here for how long he's able to stall this out. Obviously opens up by dodging the shockwave. That's going to hurt. I do want to talk about Orome in the back half of the play because he zones Skarner out of it for so long, then also kills the Skarner, getting the tanky stats. And then he turns around and he basically just zones out everyone from Schalke. He's like a one-man wrecking ball crew on this Mordekaiser on the back half of the fight, while Shadow and Kaiser and Humanoid take care of the first part.
Yeah, he pops out of that death realm. Schalke, very confused, collapsed on both sides. And also, Humanoid survived that whole ordeal using the stopwatch, and then Kaiser coming in clutch to keep him alive. Humanoid and Shadow, they're all landing their movement abilities. And
He'll never hit one.
Okay, to be fair, he got the flash. That was as good as hit if the flash was not there.
No, I get it. That was like the best arrow, but I'm just saying, I don't think he's hit one.
Also, respect to Carzzy because he was just a half second off of landing the arrow on Odoamne's TP in the last fight.
All right, we're going to have to hold that thought because it looks like Humanoid is going for the 1v1s. It's going to be tough for Odoamne. He gets the shield from the adaptive defenses as well as the additional shield coming in. He's going to leap forward, but he's not going to find the stun. Humanoid now trying to retreat, though, but Neon's going to run him down. Big shutdown for Neon. That's going to be massive.
That is a big deal here for Schalke. Give them some breathing room on the map, but still, I mean, that's the Baron buff that went to Mad Lions. Now losing 40 seconds of that, they're not going to be able to knock on inhibitor.
Yeah, at this point, Schalke are just like, okay, as long as the inhibs stay up, we live to fight another day. We try to roll the dice in a minute 30 over this Infernal Soul of all things. That's going to be the last stand for Schalke, but a much better performance for Mad Lions. The game's not completely wrapped up yet, but you can see the confidence returning for the players in form.
And the concern, of course, is Camille gets more items under her belt. How long can Carzzy stay safe in these fights if they find a full 5v5? And as well, Humanoid cannot afford to keep making mistakes. I'm already ready to pronounce the game over and done with, but if he keeps throwing his life away on a side lane, things are not going to go so well for the Mad Lions.
I don't think the issue is necessarily deleting Carzzy because there's too many carry threats on Mad Lions' composition. I think the bigger issue is that there's no way for Schalke to play really slow in these fights, which is where Senna really excels, because they don't have the tanky stats necessary on Skarner. They have no front line, really, and multiple members of Mad Lions are just going to play a 1v1v1v1 and rip you apart.
Exactly. I think ideally for Schalke, you're trying to play the team fights in a 4-1 style where it is 4 people grouped up and then Odoamne diving onto a Carzzy. But until Odoamne gets the death stance, he is not tanky enough. He will not survive long enough in the backline to cause real threat. Because in theory, even if he's not killing Carzzy, just removing him and giving the rest of his team space is going to be a lot of value. But again, until the death stance comes through, it's not going to be enough.
And look at Schalke. It's 12 seconds before this Infernal Soul spawns, and Neon's on the top side of the map. I think they are just waving the white flag, and they're saying, there's no way we can contest it. Like, let it go. We have to try to fight on inhibs.
But it's also Lee Sin, who is incredibly fed, and Akali, who is also incredibly fed with an Infernal Soul. And these champions are already getting their Zhonya's. They're already paying the QSS tax for Skarner, as well as a lot of the CC that the rest of the team can bring to the table. So things are certainly not getting any easier for Schalke. 7K gold deficit on top of the Infernal Soul. Baron just 2.5 minutes away. It's going to be do or die for Schalke in the coming fight.
I mean, it was between a rock and a hard place. I kind of like the call from Schalke. They were not going to win that fight if they ran in, so I guess they're thinking, like, I guess we look for the miracle pick. At this point, you want to start creating pockets of darkness. You want to rush Abba to that death cap, and you're just hoping that Mad Lions make a massive mistake and face check into something disastrous.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could also just hide inside of your base, and that anywhere outside your base is going to be incredibly dangerous. I mean, Schalke, they do have good tools to stay on for a while, mainly because Mad Lions Siege, not going to be great.
The wave clear is really strong for Schalke.
Yeah, Schalke have good wave clear, and Mad Lions only have one ranged champion. So Mad Lions need a Baron buff to actually break down some towers and use that in all 3 lanes with the Orome and Humanoid splitting up around the map. So it really does feel like it's 2 minutes away unless Schalke makes some really egregious error and get picked off here.
And at this point, the items are mostly completed. Obviously, we have the needlessly large rod for Abbedagge, but otherwise the Death Dance just finished for Odoamne, as well as the Lord Dominic's coming in for Neon. So they're not going to get a lot stronger in the next 2 minutes. It's just about finding that pick that you mentioned, finding that opportune fight. Gilius potentially being able to pull someone back who does not have a QSS. So the number of viable targets continues to shrink as the game goes on.
And meanwhile, as Ender was pointing out, you know, it still is relatively hard for Mad to force unless they find picks.
Big shockwave, but it's not going to amount to too much. Abbedagge pulled back, knocked down, and knocked out. Running for the hills here, trying to stay alive, but will get burned down in the end. Mad Lions now kicking the fight off. Humanoid just tearing through the entire team. They don't need to wait for a Baron buff. If they can just 5-man dive the base, Mad Lions absolutely feeling it right now as they're going to move in and break open this inhibitor.
What I wanted to say is that it's hard for Mad Lions to siege unless they force the pick, and then as I say it, they literally just like all put their face into it and just steamroll through Schalke. A masterclass game 2 from Mad.
That was just nasty. Diving underneath these towers. They saw they'd actually split up Schalke. There was 2 in top, 2 in mid. Mad Lions run through Schalke in game 2.
Massive performance from Mad Lions in game 2, turning it back, bringing the series to 1-1. Mad Lions will not go quietly, and Schalke will find their win streak broken.
And they stuck with the same game plan, really. They still put high priority onto the Akali, and this is going to be our question. You know, what champions will define the series? Will you have to be forced into an Akali ban, or do you say, we beat it in game number 1, we can beat it in game number 2? How do we make our adjustments as the series now looks to go the distance?
And look, Humanoid played the same game. His performance in game 1 was not bad by any means. The pivotal difference to me was Shadow. He's on Lee Sin, the comfort pick. You know his Lee Sin is going to be insane, and when he's able to step up in the early game, Humanoid will be allowed to shine.
We've seen Mad Lions now pull it back from a loss. The question for me is, can Schalke do the same? We're gonna get more insight on game 2 as Mad Lions tie up the series.
Do the Dame.
Do the Dame. Yeah. They're gonna try to buy a bit more space, but he cannot connect now. The rest of the team now coming in. Jankos, though, he's already used the grid. He's gonna be very squishy, but they cannot quite kill him because an unbreakable comes in at the perfect time.
I think they kind of look a bit shook off after we beat them last final. It's like they felt like what they were doing just could never like work against us, and I think they just wanted to change it up and find a new way of playing that could actually beat us.
Submit still trying to get in. Golden Shadow, there's the charm. Submit dives into the back line.
And we always manage to find these like solutions to our problems. That we always just make it work. So if the meta keeps on going like this way for us, it's perfect, honestly. I feel like it hits just right for our players.
Orange, thank you.
Our teams are so good this year.
I can't believe they actually made it. Woo! What? It's what champions eat.
Beko Harvest Fresh preserves vitamins for longer by simulating the natural 24-hour sun cycle. Beko, eat like a pro.
Have a bite. It's good.
Charged up. Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.
back, everyone, to the LEC Summer Playoffs. Mad Lions, they bounced back with a crucial win, and the first time in 12 games, Schalke's Nexus was destroyed. We have a series on our hands, and if you don't believe me, we do. I could use a close-up right now. Nobody's going to read this from there. That's all right. Anyway, let's talk about picks and bans. As we ended the last segment, you guys said, I do not want to see a first pick Akali out of the Mad Lions. They still went for it, but which adaptations did we see that made this work, Caedrel?
Well, I think the Akali first pick in the last game, it did have some impact. I think the main struggle they had was the jungle support and the AD carry. I like that they switched it up. They went for the LEC Ashe Nautilus, way more playmaking, way more engaged, way more utility in the game. I would have liked to see a Calista, but the Ashe really worked as well. And the whole draft plan was good. They banned out Tahm Kench to force the Senna pick. Then they knew that the Tahm Kench wouldn't be able to be picked, so they just instantly locked in the Nautilus, taken away from Dreams. So now Dreams is forced on a Braum, which is not the best champion you want, especially with something like a Skarner. I think the jungle pick was really off from Schalke as well. The fact that they took away the Camille on 4 just because of the Renekton ban, I think picking jungle would have been a lot better. Counter-pick top, because you basically led to a losing top matchup, a losing jungle matchup, and a really difficult bot matchup. So
yeah, I agree with Caedrel. I think he hit all the main points, and I think that for me, one of the biggest things was we got to see what happens when Schalke doesn't safely get through the early laning phase. One of the biggest advantages I felt like Mad had was that they had a winning 2 versus 2 bot that they could actually just get advantages from. And while Orome struggled a little bit in the early game, he was able to pull that back later on into the game. And I think a lot of that came off the back of another fantastic Lee Sin performance from Shadow.
Absolutely. So Shadow picks this Lee Sin, and you know this is in part because it's good for the comp, but also this is his pick, and he knows what to do on it. And I think this top lane play was so crucial because in my mind, if that goes the other way, you're in a whole different space of mind as Shadow. Yeah,
he went for an early bot gank, didn't work. He gets the first spell onto Gilius, and again, he just catches out Gilius again. So, I mean, the fact that he can get his Lee Sin a couple early kills in the early game, I mean, we know Shadow's Lee Sin is one of the best Lee Sins in Europe. It's his most comfortable champ, and I love the adaptation, the fact that, okay, the set didn't work out too much, let's put you back on Lee Sin, let's get you back on the comfort. And yeah, he hit every Q in almost every fight, and that flash kick was a bit too much, but I guess he just had loads of damage.
It's probably habit at that point, right? You know, but I think that it was much needed as well. After game 1, he picked a champion that we haven't seen him play yet during the regular season, and it was a difficult game for him. So put him on something that he can have success on, something that he feels comfortable on, and oh, look, he has a banger. So now his confidence is going to be riding high. Same for the Mad Lions. Game plan didn't work out game 1, but it seems like the mental wasn't greatly affected in game 2. So it's good to see that they are staying strong. Now the weight falls on Schalke's hands.
Yeah, they bounced back tremendously. Vedius, you also wanted to take an in-depth look and that top lane fight in 22 minutes, which really sealed the deal for Mad.
So people thought that I only needed that to do the Drory tools, but I brought my little computer thing with me. I name him Al. Anyway, so this top lane play, what Caedrel and I wanted to draw attention to was Humanoid. Now, we're going to slow this one down as I start this one off, right? So you're going to keep an eye on Humanoid and how he's sidestepping beautifully absolutely everything. So Caedrel, why don't you run us through this as we're going to play this one out?
Yeah, so he actually uses E to dodge out the Orianna ult, and then he has the E tagged on the creep, so he flies back and he sees Gilius running at him with the ult. So he instantly ults back onto Humanoid into the bush, and now Gilius lost vision of him, and now he's running back into the bush. He pops the W, so he's still not able to use the Skarner ult. He's basically stalling time here. Dreams is trying to collapse on him, Abbedagge is trying to collapse on him, Gilius, the TP is coming out. You'll see Odoamne is going to flash on him as well, and he essentially all he's doing is buying time. Eventually he gets ulted out, the Senna ult comes down to save him a little bit, but then he ults away. Camille flashed on him, he Zhonya's the Camille ult as well, so
yeah,
he basically got 3 ultimates.
That's the craziest thing for me, and again, I still want you to keep your eyes on Humanoid down here, because you'll notice that you've got 3 people, all of Schalke, hard committing to this play, and they're like, okay, as long as we kill Humanoid, this play is still going to work out in our favor. But then as we roll the clip back out once again, you'll notice that, hey, look, he flashes out at the last second. And now you see that Schalke's stuck in this really awkward situation where they're all clumped up in this while the rest of Mad are coming. And note, if you have a look at the minimap, Carzzy's not even here. This is a 4 versus 5 play that Mad's actually able to come out on top of.
Yeah, and he basically, there's 4 ultimates down for Schalke. They're all stacked up, and Humanoid's really, he's basing here on Out of Fog of War, and he's going to TP back into the fight. Now Schalke, they've got no fighting tools left. They have no ultimates. It is a 4v5, sort of in their favor, but they can't really win it. Shadow comes in, cleans up, the TP comes in, and that eventually leads to Neon's death.
Yeah, and I think a wonderful game out of the Mad Lions. And individually, you know, when you're a Humanoid, you get that Akali again, and now you absolutely make it work. You're winning fights when not even all your carries are there, and this is exactly what they needed to bounce back. They were on blue side. Now Schalke is on blue side, of course, because that's what they picked after losing that game. Now, talk to me, Vedius, about the mental game. You already said, well, Mad, hey, bounce back, fantastic. Schalke has seen that defeat screen for the first time now in 12 games. How is that going to affect them?
Well, this is the thing, right? I think that one of the big advantages that Schalke have had is that they've been on this constant win streak, but now they've suddenly been stopped in their tracks. They're the ones that have to adapt. They have to find a way of dealing with this Akali, and now we get to see how deep is that champion pool. Do they only have one style, or is there something else that they can bring out against the Mad Lions?
Yeah, I mean, Schalke, first defeat in 5 weeks. I don't think that's going to hurt them too much. We'll see if they have adaptability here. Can they adapt in the draft? Can they adapt to a loss? I think dropping the Skarner pick is really important here. I think the fact that you're on blue side, you can have target bans, so I'd love to see an Akali ban, a Lee Sin ban, something like this. I mean, you saw the series with G2, they were banning the Lee Sin on blue side, so picking up some of the tools that G2 used against Mad Lions on blue side would be really important here. I would love to see Lee Sin ban get Shadow off comfort again, because he really looked sort of out of the game with Kaiser when he's not on a comfortable champ. But when he's on a comfortable champ like Lee Sin and Kaiser's on Nautilus, they look really good together.
Yep, they do. We'll see what happens. It was a big change in momentum for the Mad Lions, who are looking to get to match point after this.